My wife spent our savings on luxury bags while I worked nights, so I closed every account and left her to face the bills alone. I'm a 30-year-old guy, and for the last 5 years, I've been working nights to build a stable future for my wife, Rachel, and me. Most nights I leave the house when the world is winding down, streetlights humming, cold air biting at my cheeks, the smell of diesel and late-night food stalls clinging to the darkness. While everyone else sleeps, I'm stacking boxes, loading trucks, and telling myself that every aching muscle is worth it. That every hour of missed sleep, every canceled weekend plan, every time I forced myself to stay awake driving home at sunrise, it's all for us. For the future Rachel and I promised each other, Rachel always seemed grateful. She'd kiss my cheek before I left and say, "You're such a hard worker, babe. I brag about you all the time." I'd replay those words in my head through the long shifts, letting them push me through the exhaustion. But beneath that sweetness, there were moments, small ones, that made my stomach tighten. Like when I tried to talk about our monthly budget one morning, sitting at the kitchen table while she scrolled through her phone. "Hey," I said, rubbing my eyes, "we should probably slow down a bit this month." Utilities went up, and she interrupted with a laugh. "Relax, you worry too much. We're fine, I mean, after everything you do? Don't you think I deserve a few nice things?" The way she said it, light, offhand, but edged with something sharper, stayed with me long after she walked away. I told myself I was overthinking, that she was joking. But sometimes I'd come home and see a new pair of shoes or a bag I didn't recognize sitting on the counter. I'd feel this strange, quiet discomfort creeping in. Still, I shoved it down. I kept working, kept believing, until something happened that made it impossible to ignore anymore. I wish I could say that uneasy feeling disappeared, but it didn't. It just settled deeper, like a stone at the bottom of my stomach. Every time I came home from a night shift, the apartment felt slightly different. A new perfume lingering in the air, shopping bags tucked behind the couch, boxes on the dining table that Rachel rushed to move the moment I stepped inside. One afternoon, after barely 3 hours of sleep, I walked into the bedroom and found a glossy boutique bag sitting on the bed. I picked it up, tracing the embossed gold lettering. I'd never even heard of the brand, but it looked expensive in the kind of way my wallet definitely couldn't handle. Before I could process it, Rachel appeared in the doorway. "Oh, that's just a little treat," she said, kissing my cheek lightly. "A reward for surviving another week, I guess." I forced a smile, but something inside me slipped a little. "Rach, we talked about cutting back this month." She rolled her eyes. "It's one bag. I swear, you stress so much it's like you want us to live like college students forever." Her tone wasn't cruel, but it stung. I'd been killing myself to make sure we never had to struggle. Yet somehow, I felt like an inconvenience in my own home. She started hanging out more with her friends from work, the ones who posted luxury hauls on Instagram and bragged about 5-star dinners. Rachel would come home glowing, telling me, "You should see Maya's new purse." Or Jenna's husband surprised her with a spa weekend. Wouldn't that be nice? Each comment lodged itself under my skin, sharp and intentional or not. I couldn't tell anymore. One night after another 12-hour shift, I checked our joint account while sitting in my car. And that's when I saw it, a charge so large it made my chest tighten, and I had absolutely no idea what it was for. I stared at the bank app on my phone, my hands still trembling from exhaustion and the cold air leaking through the car window. There it was, one single charge, bigger than our rent, sitting in the middle of our transaction history like a punch to the gut. My first instinct was that it had to be a mistake, a glitch. Fraud, maybe? Anything that made sense. I walked inside slowly, my head still foggy from the shift, but my pulse sharp and awake. Rachel was in the kitchen, humming softly while reheating pasta. "Hey," I said carefully, setting my keys down. "Did you buy something yesterday? Something big?" She glanced over her shoulder. "Big? Not really." "Why?" "There's a charge here," I said, holding up my phone. "A really big one. I don't recognize it." Her whole expression shifted for just a split second, like a glitch in a perfect photograph. But then she laughed. "Oh my God, babe, you scared me." I think that's from when I ordered stuff for the house. For the house, I repeated. What stuff costs that much? She put her hand on my arm. It's probably an error. I'll call them tomorrow. You look exhausted. Don't stress. Just like that, the conversation was over. At least for her. But lying in bed that morning, staring at the ceiling while the sunlight pressed through the blinds, I couldn't shake it. Something didn't add up. Her tone, her quick deflection. The way her eyes darted toward her phone before she answered. Over the next few days, more charges appeared. Smaller ones, but from boutique names I'd never heard her mention before. Each one tightened something in my chest, like a grip slowly closing around my ribs. Whenever I tried to bring it up, she'd brush me off with a kiss, or a joke, or a sigh that made me feel like a nagging parent. So, I did something I never thought I'd do. I started tracking every dollar. Every transaction, every pattern. And one morning, the pattern finally showed itself. The pattern hit me like a slap. Every charge, no matter the amount, came from high-end boutiques scattered around the city. Not grocery stores. Not home improvement places. Not anything even remotely related to stuff for the house. It was luxury brands. Names I'd only ever seen on billboards or Instagram ads. That was the moment something in me snapped. Not anger. Not even betrayal. Just clarity. A cold, heavy kind of clarity that settled in my stomach and refused to move. A few days later, a package arrived while Rachel was at a brunch with her new coworkers. The delivery guy handed it over with both hands like it was fragile. The box was pristine, glossy black, tied with a ribbon I'd seen only in magazines. I shouldn't have opened it. I knew that. But my hands were already tearing through the paper before my conscience could speak. Inside was a handbag sleek, structured and the kind of brand people save months for. I checked the receipt buried in the packaging. It cost more than I made in an entire month. My throat tightened as I turned toward our bedroom, every step echoing in the quiet apartment. The air felt still, charged, like the moment before a storm breaks. I opened her closet. For years, I'd never paid attention to her side, beyond the usual clothes and shoes. But today something caught my eye. A long beige box tucked behind a stack of sweaters. Then another, and another. I pulled them out one by one. Every box held a designer item. Handbags, heels, accessories, all with price tags. That made my chest feel painfully tight. It wasn't one bag, or a few treats. It was an entire secret collection. A hidden luxury life built behind my back. And as I sat there surrounded by thousands of dollars worth of things I'd never seen her wear, a terrifying question hit me. If this is what I found today, how much more was she hiding? I sat on the bedroom floor surrounded by boxes. I didn't remember paying for designer logos staring back at me like accusations. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Part of me kept whispering that I was overreacting, that there had to be some explanation, some innocent mistake. But the rational part of my brain, the part that had been silently collecting evidence for weeks, knew exactly what this meant. I had grabbed my laptop and logged into our joint account again. My pulse thudded in my ears as the screen loaded, each number sharpening in front of me like broken glass. Our savings, the savings I had worked night after night to build, were nearly gone. The balance was so low I blinked twice, thinking it was a display error, but it wasn't. I checked the credit card statements next. My heart dropped. 3 credit cards I didn't recognize, all maxed out. All created in her name but linked to our household information. It felt like the walls were closing in. The room grew smaller, hotter, like the air itself had weight. I could almost hear the echo of every night I'd dragged myself out of bed. Every sunrise I'd forced my eyes open while driving home. All of that work, years of it, evaporated into handbags, shoes, God knows what else. When Rachel came home later that afternoon, she waltzed in humming, shopping bags hanging from her wrist. "Hey, babe," she called out cheerfully. "You're home early." I didn't answer. I was still sitting on the bed, laptop open in front of me. She froze when she saw my expression. "Why do you look like that?" I turned the screen toward her. "Rachel, where did our savings go?" Her face drained of color, but she forced a smile. Okay, just calm down. You're making it a bigger deal than it is. A bigger deal? My voice cracked. You've drained everything. Everything I worked for. She opened her mouth to speak, but before a single excuse came out, something on my screen lit up. A notification that made everything infinitely worse. The notification popped up at the top of the screen, a new charge. Right then. Right in front of me, another purchase from one of those boutiques. I felt my stomach twist so violently I thought I might be sick. Rachel's eyes darted to the screen, then to the shopping bag still dangling from her wrist. And for the first time, her confidence cracked. I stood up slowly. My voice felt raw, scraped from the inside. Rachel, tell me the truth. All of it. She lifted her chin, trying to recover her usual tone. You're overreacting. I bought a few things, so what? I deserve it after everything you put me through. I stared at her. Everything I put you through. Rachel, I've been working nights for years. I come home exhausted. I've missed holidays, weekends, time with friends, everything. For us, she scoffed, tossing the bag onto the couch, and you think that's enough? You barely spend time with me? You're always tired? Do you know how lonely that feels? My friends' husbands, take them out, buy them gifts, make them feel special. Meanwhile, I'm stuck in this apartment by myself. Her words hit me like a punch. Not because she was right, because of how deeply ungrateful they were. So this is punishment? I asked quietly. It's balance, she snapped. I deserved a better life than penny pinching and budgeting every month. Your job isn't supposed to control me. It's the way she said your job, as if my back-breaking hours were some sort of burden on her. Made something inside me go ice cold. I took a slow breath. The clock on the wall ticked loudly, filling the tense silence between us. How much debt are you hiding? I asked. She stiffened. Don't start, please. I can fix it. I just need time. You've had time, I said. You had years. Her eyes flickered with panic. Hey, please. Don't be dramatic. We can get through this. But before I could respond, her phone buzzed on the counter. She lunged for it too fast, too desperate. And that's when I realized there was something she really didn't want me to see. When Rachel lunged for her phone, something inside me locked into place a cold, heavy certainty I couldn't ignore anymore. Give it to me, I said quietly. Her fingers tightened around it. No, it's private. Private, I repeated, my voice barely above a whisper. We're drowning in debt because of you, and now you want privacy. Her eyes flashed with guilt, panic, and then irritation. You're acting insane. It's nothing. Just messages. I didn't push further, I just stared at her until she looked away. In that moment, I realized I wasn't talking to the woman I married. I was talking to someone who had been living an entirely separate life right under my nose. That night, she insisted we attend a dinner with her work friends. It'll get your mind off things, she said, as if distraction would magically solve the financial crater she created. I didn't want to go, but I was too drained to argue. The restaurant was one of those upscale places with dim lights, clinking glasses, and a menu full of things you can't pronounce. Rachel slipped into the group. Is he laughing too loudly, talking too fast? I sat beside her, feeling like a ghost. At one point, one of her friends glanced at my worn-out jacket and smirked. So, Rachel, she said loudly, did you ever convince him to upgrade his wardrobe? You know, for someone who works so hard, he dresses like he doesn't care about himself. The table laughed. Rachel didn't defend me. She joined in. I've tried, but, him budgeting for everything. He's practically allergic to spending money. Their laughter echoed in my ears, each chuckle slicing deeper. I stared. Down at my hands, the faint smell of grilled steak and expensive wine swirling around me, mixing with humiliation. I thought about the years of night shifts, the exhaustion, the sacrifices, and realized they didn't see me as a partner. They saw me as a joke. On the drive home, Rachel said casually, don't be so sensitive. They didn't mean anything. And that's when I knew I had finally hit the bottom. But rock bottom has a way of forcing clarity. And something inside me began to shift. The silence in the car on the way home felt heavier than anything Rachel had ever said. The dim streetlights flashed across the windshield in slow, rhythmic intervals. each one illuminating the truth I'd refused to see for far too long. I wasn't a husband to her. I wasn't a partner. I was a provider, a background character who funded the life she thought she deserved. By the time we pulled into the parking lot of our building, something inside me had hardened. Not anger, not spite. No. Just resolve. When we walked in, Rachel went straight to the bathroom to fix her makeup, humming as if nothing had happened. I stood in the living room, staring at the soft glow of the lamp against the wall, feeling more alone than I had in my entire life. The next morning, when she left for a coffee date with her friends, I didn't sleep. Instead, I sat at the dining table with a notebook, my laptop, and a stack of bank statements. I didn't cry, I didn't rage, I just studied. Every charge, every missing dollar, every credit card she'd opened. It was worse than I thought. Later that day, I met with a financial advisor, a quiet man in his 50s, with kind eyes who looked genuinely heartbroken as he flipped through the documents. "Son," he said softly, "this didn't happen overnight. She's been doing this for a long time." Hearing someone else say it out loud made my throat tighten. He walked me through what I needed to do. Reroute my income, protect my credit, disconnect my name from anything she could access. "You need to look after yourself now," he said. "This is no longer a shared situation." When I walked out of that office, the afternoon sun felt impossibly bright, almost mocking. But underneath the brightness, I felt something I hadn't felt in years, a tiny ember of control. That night, Rachel came home chattering about some influencer's new purse, completely unaware that the ground beneath her was already shifting, because by morning, my quiet plan would begin. I woke up before sunrise, no alarm, no groggy hesitation, just a clear, steady purpose humming through my chest. Rachel was still asleep, her soft breathing filling the room while early morning light crept across the floorboards. For the first time, I didn't feel guilty watching her sleep. I didn't feel responsible for fixing anything. I felt done. I slipped out of bed, the floor cooled beneath my feet, and sat at the kitchen table with my laptop. One by one, I followed the steps the advisor had laid out for me. First, I rerouted my direct deposit to a new private account. Then I removed my name from the joint credit cards she'd destroyed. I closed the shared savings account, the one I had built paycheck by paycheck. Watching the balance transfer out felt like sealing the last open wound. Finally, I froze every line of credit that had my name attached. With each click, each confirmation, each locked account, I felt a strange mixture of grief and relief. Years of work were gone, but so was the illusion that we were building a future together. Around 10 a.m., Rachel stumbled out of the bedroom, yawning. She grabbed her purse, scrolling through her phone as she walked toward the door. "I'm meeting the girls. I'll be back later," she said casually. I didn't respond. She didn't notice an hour later, my phone buzzed, declined transaction alert. Then another, and another. Minutes later, the front door burst open. "What did you do?" Rachel shouted, her voice cracking as she held up her phone, eyes wide and frantic. "Why aren't my cards working? Why is everything blocked?" Asterisk, I stayed seated, calm, in a way that seemed to terrify her more. "I closed the accounts," I said quietly. "All of them." Her mouth fell open. You can't do that? I need access. I have bills, I have payments. You had access," I said. "You used it." She looked like the floor was sinking beneath her. But before she could respond, her phone lit up again, a call from a number she clearly recognized, and one she clearly dreaded. Rachel's entire face drained of color when she saw the number flashing across her screen. Her hand shook as she pressed decline, and for a moment, she just stood there frozen, staring at her phone like it had personally betrayed her. Then it started ringing again. She backed away from the table, voice trembling. "They weren't supposed to call me yet." "Who?" I asked quietly, even though deep down I already knew. She swallowed hard. The collectors. I missed a payment." "It's nothing. I can fix it." I just stared at her. "How many payments?" She flinched. "Don't do this right now." The room filled with the shrill vibration of her phone ringing again. She finally answered, voice shaky, pretending she was handling things. But from the way her shoulders curled inward, from the way she whispered, "Please just give me more time," I knew everything was spiraling faster than even she expected. When she hung up, she rounded on me, eyes blazing. "You made it worse? I needed access to the money. I was going to figure it out. You drained our savings," I said. "You maxed out cards. You lied. Fixing it isn't my job anymore." She paced the living room, breathing hard. "You don't get it. They're going to freeze my accounts. They're going to call my job. My friends will find out. I can't let that happen." Her panic echoed through the apartment like a cracked bell. For the first time, I watched her world collapse without lifting a finger. All those luxury bags, shoes, shopping trips, none of them could help her now. Over the next few days, it only got worse. Letters arrived thick and urgent. Emails filled her inbox. Her friends, once loud, confident women, stopped inviting her out when she couldn't keep up the image. She asked one of them for a loan. They ghosted her. Every night she sat on the couch, head in her hands, whispering, "This can't be happening." And then, one evening, after another, call ended with her in tears. She looked at me with a desperation I had never seen before and said, "Please, just help me fix this, please." But she had no idea what was about to come next. Her plea hung in the air thin, trembling, and for the first time in months, completely stripped of arrogance. She looked smaller somehow, curled on the couch with her knees pulled to her chest, mascara smudged beneath her eyes. The apartment felt colder than usual, shadows stretching across the walls like everything inside was collapsing right alongside her. I sat across from her, hands clasped, breathing slowly to keep myself steady. "Rachel," I said quietly, "I can't fix this for you." Her head shot up. "What? You have to? You can't just leave me like this. You're my husband." I shook my head. "I was your husband. Not your bank account. Not your safety net. And not your shield from consequences you created." She stared at me, eyes wide like she didn't recognize the man sitting in front of her. "You're being cruel," she whispered. "I made mistakes, okay? I just wanted to feel special. I wanted the life other women have." "The life you wanted," I said softly, "was built on lies. Lies you told me. Lies you told yourself." She pressed her palms to her forehead, voice breaking. "If you leave, if you walk away right now, everything will fall apart." I took a breath, feeling the final string between us snap. "I'm filing for divorce, Rachel." Her gasp was sharp, cutting through the room. No, you can't. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. Or make a new budget. Or Rachel," I interrupted, my voice even but heavy, "you didn't just break our finances. You broke my trust. You broke us." Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, "I did it because I was lonely. You were never home." "And I was never home," I said, my voice shaking. "Because I was working to build a life you were burning behind my back." She covered her mouth like she could shove the truth back inside. I stood up slowly, my legs numb but certain. "I'll move out tomorrow." Her breath hitched. Please don't do this." But there was one last thing she didn't know, something I hadn't told her yet, and when I finally said it, everything would change. I stood by the doorway with my suitcase half-zipped, the soft hum of the city drifting in through the window. Rachel watched me with swollen eyes, clutching a crumpled tissue in one hand, desperation hanging off her like a second skin. The apartment, once warm, once full of plans and promises, felt hollow now. Every corner echoing with a truth we had both ignored for far too long. She wiped her cheeks. "What else could you possibly say to hurt me more?" I swallowed, steadying myself. "This isn't about hurting you. It's about being honest. Maybe for the first time in years." Her shoulders tensed. "Just say it." I took a quiet breath. "I already talked to a lawyer. The debt. The cards you opened in your name? They're yours, Rachel. Every last dollar. My credit is protected now." Her face crumbled. "Why would you do that behind my back?" I met her eyes. "The same reason you did everything behind mine?" She sank onto the arm of the couch, shaking. The only sound was the distant rumble of traffic and her uneven breathing. "I don't know how to fix this," she whispered. "You're not supposed to fix this for us anymore," I said. "This is yours to fix. Maybe facing it will finally make you see what your better life cost." There was no yelling, no dramatic meltdown, just a quiet, suffocating acceptance settling over her. I finished zipping my suitcase and walked toward the door. My chest felt tight, but lighter than it had in years. She stood up suddenly, voice cracking. "Do you still love me?" I paused, hand on the doorknob, my reflection faint in the metal. "I loved you enough to work myself into the ground," I said softly. "But loving someone who doesn't respect you? That's not love. That's self-destruction." Her sob echoed through the hallway as the door clicked shut behind me. As I stepped into the cool evening air, I felt the weight of the years of exhaustion finally start to lift. The city lights blurred into a quiet glow, and for the first time, I didn't feel trapped. I felt free, terrified, uncertain, but free. Sometimes the strongest revenge isn't shouting, or fighting, or proving a point. Sometimes the strongest revenge is simply walking away and letting someone live with the consequences they created.